15, 2017. A rapidly modernizing country holds its first ever computerized elections. But international hackers infiltrate the Interior Ministry's computers in an attempt to swing the results in favor of one of the candidates and sent a ransomware email threatening to freeze the elections unless they received $100 million. They also try to hack into the personal accounts and emails of the leaders of one of the parties and publish embarrassing details about them. In addition, they hacked into the Interior Ministry's computers in order to swing the results in favor of one of the candidates. The resulting election upset could lead to nationwide riots and even civil war. Luckily, this country was prepared with the highest level of protection, CyberDome's 360-degree security perimeter. Already in its preliminary stages, CyberDome's security incident response team identifies the attacker's footprints and isolates those computers that have been breached. Its cutting-edge forensics team then rapidly analyzes all pertinent data to determine who carried out the attack, where, and why. Within days, police raid 3 homes in a wealthy section of the country's capital and arrest 4 men for the attempted breach of national security. Hack prevented, case closed. Boasting over a decade of cybersecurity experience, CyberDome security professionals are experts at providing 24/7 holistic protection for all types of computer networks, whether public, industrial, or financial. In addition to round-the-clock cybersecurity, our cutting-edge CSOC facilities provide top-quality training and instruction for the best in cybersecurity capacity building. Don't wait until it's too late. Contact CyberDome today and secure your vital computer networks. A rapidly modernizing country holds its first ever computerized elections. But international hackers infiltrate the Interior Ministry's computers in an attempt to swing the results in favor of one of the candidates and sent a ransomware email threatening to freeze the elections unless they received $100 million. They also try to hack into the personal accounts and emails of the leaders of one of the parties and publish embarrassing details about them. In addition, they hacked into the Interior Ministry's computers in order to swing the results in favor of one of the candidates. The resulting election upset could lead to nationwide riots and even civil war. Luckily, this country was prepared with the highest level of protection, CyberDome's 360-degree security perimeter. Already in its preliminary stages, CyberDome's security incident response team identifies the attacker's footprints and isolates those computers that have been breached. Its cutting-edge forensics team then rapidly analyzes all pertinent data to determine who carried out the attack, where, and why. Within days, police raid 3 homes in a wealthy section of the country's capital and arrest 4 men for the attempted breach of national security. Hack prevented, case closed. Boasting over a decade of cybersecurity experience, CyberDome security professionals are experts at providing 24/7 holistic protection for all types of computer networks, whether public, industrial, or financial. In addition to round-the-clock cybersecurity, our cutting-edge CSOC facilities provide top-quality training and instruction for the best in cybersecurity capacity building. Don't wait until it's too late. Contact CyberDome today and secure your vital computer networks.
Hi everyone, welcome to our webinar. My name is Chioma Iwagu, MD CyberDome Nigeria. I believe your day has been amazing so far. The outline for today's webinar first would include a brief overview of CyberDome, as well as a detailed insight to an important cybersecurity tool known as the Security Orchestration Automation and Response Platform for one of our strategic partners, Simplify. And to give perspective to this threat-centric approach, I have with me Guy Happis, Director of Sales, Asia Pacific with Simplify. Guy, nice to have you with us.
Hi, very happy to join. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Guy. So as part of the ground rules, I would like to acquaint everyone with how we're going to run today. For today's webinar, we're going to run in two streams. First, there's going to be a presentation followed by a demonstration. And we'll be delighted to take your questions at the end of both streams. Please endeavor to make use of the Q&A feature on your screen. Thank you all. So the cyberspace, as we all know, is increasingly becoming weaponized as the world grapples with the biggest healthcare crisis of our time. Nigeria, on the other hand, has had to deal with a plethora of cybersecurity threats, ranging from insider threats, phishing attacks, ransomware, and of course, a huge skills and knowledge gap within the cybersecurity space. CyberDome is a cybersecurity firm situated in Abuja, Nigeria, with offices in United States of America and Israel. And we focus exclusively on cybersecurity. CyberDome offers bespoke cybersecurity operation services such as analysis, critical infrastructure defense, and solutions for every kind of organization. These solutions we have successfully deployed to different industry verticals, such as the finance, energy, healthcare, and as well as a lot of government institutions and agencies as well. CyberDome Next Generation MSSP offers 24/7 continuous security monitoring and advanced data breach prevention services. We equally provide a full service solution portfolio that addresses all your security needs. As an MSSP, we are very active both in Nigeria and Israel, thus staying very close to our clients with a view to understanding the peculiarity of their threat landscape, such as we can proffer solution and mitigate these risks through professional services, managed services, consultancy services, response services, and of course the academy, by the way. CyberDome Cyber Academy offers professional courses that are taught at several levels. And we can also tailor the trainings to suit the peculiarity and the need of various institutions. CyberDome's Security Operations Center modular services, basically, we have devised the means such that we're able to seamlessly integrate world-renowned expertise, process, and innovative technology to create more visibility within organizations' OT networks, such as to enable them detect, respond, and prevent, and respond to cybersecurity challenges, to also strengthen their security posture. CyberDome offers the best and cutting-edge technologies and solutions from the state of Israel. As you can see on the screen, some of the solutions include anti-DDoS, secure signing, anti-phishing, vulnerability management, network access control, user behavioral analytics, and the list goes on. At CyberDome, we pride ourselves with our ability to create a kill zone for hackers, making it very difficult for them to operate within the environment. At this point, I'm going to invite Guy, our strategic partner with Simplify, to speak to the benefits of this powerfully simple tool and the need for each and every one of us to have it in our respective organizations. Guy, please do us the honor.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to take over your share, if you don't mind. Let me know if that works. Okay, you should be able to see my screen now.
Definitely.
Okay, Awesome. So thanks for joining, everyone. I have with me also Yoni, one of our senior sales engineer, and with time permits, he will be doing a demo and kind of presenting some of the things that I'll be showing in a higher level in slides. Before we go deeper into what Simplify, kind of what is our solution in a way, I want to talk a little bit about our background, which I feel is very relevant to why we're such a leading solution, especially on the cyber aspect of the SOAR today. We're very much cyber oriented with a heavy background in managing SOCs, uplifting SOCs, helping build new SOCs, especially now in Simplify. And through that, our understanding was very much focused on those pain points that we identify globally, right? And you can see some of these names, of course, the list goes on and on, but we're very strong in both production. Of course, we grew from banking with all the major banks in Israel, but many globally as well. I think we'll be talking about one example later on. But MSSPs is quickly becoming definitely a main driver as we feel more and more different levels of organizations feeling really the same pains globally. It all stems from not having one place to play, right? Having multiple consoles, that you need to swivel chair between them, need to train your analysts to go deep and understand them all to a certain extent, work a lot of processes manually, unstructured, and we never have enough time. So at the end of the day, with all the alerts we get, we're essentially extinguishing fires and doing kind of the drills that we know, but can't really go above. And what we in Simplify, we try to diffuse these little different, sometimes disparate problems into a platform that's dedicated for SOC and goes beyond just orchestration and automation, but really becomes your main tool to identify your gaps, to identify your bottlenecks, to identify your path for ongoing improvement, which is really key in Simplify, both internally for the company, but also for the products that we're developing, right? Being able to create a structure that helps you identify your ongoing path for improvements and constantly be on top, whether you're remote, connecting from home, or whether you're in the SOC and needs to go like really deep to everything. What we are often asked is, where are you different, right? And I think there's different areas that we can and will show deeper in the demo, some technical, some higher level, but in core, what we're really building is not just an orchestration and automation tool. What we're building is a very much SOC-oriented SOC management platform that helps you go beyond just moving and shifting bottlenecks around, right? You could move things and you could close a lot of positive, but at the end of the day, you want it to be part of what everything understands and utilize. And we'll show you that soon. The second thing is really related to the patents that we started with as a company more than 5 years ago that allow us to shift the balance in investigation. That means that instead of chasing events and alerts like you normally do and kind of correlate by SIM, right, or other sources, which we still do, but we have a different, a second layer of automatic correlation engine that really allows you to focus on threats and then drill down on events and alerts and not vice versa. So very powerful. And we make it all, the whole platform, in a very easy to understand, easy to learn GUI, right? We understand most are young analysts, and we want to make sure we empower the tier one analysts to be more engaged, to understand more about the flow, to be able to extend their reach without having to learn how to connect to all of these valuable solutions that you may have, because we've done the heavy lifting on that, right? Instead of having to train your tier 1, 2, 3 in the different levels of what they need to do in all of these solutions. And of course, the list goes on. There's like 200 different partners that we're integrating with, connecting with. Many of these are alliance partners that we have strong partnerships with to make sure that we ongoingly support our customers. So if you're using McAfee, Carbon Black, Checkpoint, all of these above, we make sure that everything in the back end works in an automated or as automated way as you choose, but you don't need to learn these to that fullest extent as you do today as an analyst, right? And I hope that all makes sense in mentality, right? And that kind of like the goals. And kind of stepping in a little bit in how we try to achieve all that. It starts with a very platform approach where we're almost mimicking the approach of Salesforce and HubSpot and Monday and you name it, all those very dedicated platforms that are built around the different problems of those organizations, whether they're marketing, HR, or sales. And so what we've been doing in the last few years now is building exactly that for SOAR. And so it includes case management, which is automatic. Everything we run queries on, or everything you would trigger, we automatically log for edit trail, right? We know it's there for prosperity or for as long as we keep it. But then comes something that I mentioned before that's very unique, our grouping. And so if we think about not just, the easy attacks, right? Script kiddies, but an elaborate campaign, where there's just phishing, could have multiple emails with different subjects coming from 3 or 4 different senders, all having, 2 or 3 different but similar hashes. And at the end, it may be my trade information that's similar and whatnot. And all of that doing manually is super difficult to do. We can identify context automatically using our algorithms and then present that visually as a higher level case. And this is, of course, kind of mock-up. In a few minutes, you'll see that in a real life demo, how it actually looks, how that unique grouping plays into your investigation flow. I think kind of tier 1 benefits from it, but this is powerful for tier 3 oriented capabilities, right? So this is intended for your last mile investigation as well. Block an outbound URL if it's a CNC, and then educate all users, right? Or in conjunction, but you identify what needs to be done quicker, much, much quicker, with less manpower, much more focused. And you'll see that, I hope, soon. Okay, so we've identified, and really the reason we built case management is really to capture information. I think I mentioned that twice before already in those 10 minutes so far, but why we built all that is really to be able to learn, right? Which pieces streamlined, which pieces are more difficult, where do we need to kind of train, improve, automate, right? And a big part of that is taking masses of data from different sources and understanding them correctly. And so we've added a business intelligence, a pure PI Tableau engine, basically, in our offering, and it's fused into Simplify. So you could use that in addition to all of our reporting and dashboards and whatnot that you would see. You actually get Tableau and built-in reports, and we can tweak these to go as deep as you want to go. And that's super cool because it gives every role exactly what they want to get, right? With their focus. Okay, so I think we're going to jump into the demo soon, but one thing that I wanted to explain is really our patents, and then we'll jump into demo and maybe come back a little bit at the end. The core of Simplify stems from these patents. And so today, what we see globally is you'll have a SIM, you'll have correlation rules, you'll have offenses if it's pure radar, correlations if it's ArcSight. We work with all, of course, these are very popular, but we work with almost every known SIM today. And so you've done some heavy lifting there with all of the masses of good solutions, and now you have a lot of unrelated correlations. Because that's the nature of the attacks, right? We never can anticipate in advance what a hacker would do before and after. We know kind of the methodologies, but linking the things together becomes super difficult, and this is exactly what we do. We are able to group these with contextual analysis. This is our name for that, and present it in a cyber ontology, a language that's developed, also part of our patents, to visualize those cyber alerts and base events in the background and whatever else related. And of course, all the enhancements that we perform with our orchestration and automation, right? So this is kind of a mock-up, but you'll see it real life soon. But it gives me the understanding of the flow, not just the IP or the host, but what our alerts and events are related, and actually gives me an automated visual representation, which for a normal tier 3 process could take 8 hours just to get started of hunting to understand which of these, I don't know, 8 alerts in this specific case are related. That doesn't come out of the box in SIM. This is kind of simplified magic, if you will, and represented very well for tier 1 and for tier 3. Some of the things that we've been doing, and you'll see that quicker on the demo, I hope we've got time, but we've, over the time working with our larger customers and smaller customers, we've really fine-tuned some of our understanding of what is difficult and what should be easier to do in SOAR and SOC management. And a big part of that is understanding not just, drag and drop for playbooks, that's easy, everybody can do that. But what we're really helping is to understand how well they are executed. How many times did they fail? Which blocks failed? If you can really drill down on how well they're built, you can ongoingly, on your own, without requiring our help, you can make sure it's ongoingly pristine, right? Or ongoingly improved. Just keeping your expectations straight, right? Nothing is ever perfect, but you have the knowledge in-house to identify the gaps and improve, right? And of course, we have a big stack of ready-to-use both playbooks and fully deployed use cases with the different solutions like TIs and MyTray and you name it. The list is long. So you'll see it's simple. It can also go very, very deep, right? So for those that need customization, it can be super easily done with Python. Rarely needed for most cases, but for management, this becomes your location for everything you need to do, whether it's dashboard level or just management level reports, KPI attention, anything you need to get. This is it, right? The one-stop location for all the information, reporting-wise and communication-wise as well. Well, that was a long sentence. As a company, I should mention, we found, and again, we're kind of an Israeli startup, right? I've been doing Israeli startups for many, many years, most of my career. I think this is the most that I have seen invested in post-sale methodologies, manpower, and approach, right? We're not just throwing you an OVA and installation or whatnot. Every deal that we do, every SOC that we support, we start with an onboarding program with a dedicated named onboarding manager and oftentimes customer success manager as well. They assign professional services. They basically guide you through the steps in a multi-week, sometimes multi-month engagement, remotely naturally, to make sure it fits what you expected it and then some, right? Kind of overachieve is kind of at our core, but at least make sure that it fits what you were expecting. And then of course, train you all to make sure that you can take it forward and extend its capacity. So we hate kind of it when it just sits, right? And no one uses it. We're really pushing our customers to really use it to the fullest extent. And maybe a word about customers. I won't go too deep on these, but just throwing some numbers and some customers that were nice enough to share, right? You'll see that some customers only automate some parts and did not have playbooks about everything, but had some issues that took them a very long time to process on cases, right? So 30, 40 minutes on just triage. And so these things they mitigated and now they have time to focus, right? Other examples, this is actually a very major bank, European bank, and we've been working with them very closely for a while. They rave by it, by helping us, kind of helping them close a ton of things that they knew should be false positive and just could not figure out kind of how to do that both effectively but safely, right? To double check things, to send to a sandbox if needed, to correlate, and now much of their noise is now blocked or closed automatically. And that team, which is quite a large team still, but they were swamped before, can now really go above, and some of the team is actually kind of much more forward looking now, right? Which they could not do before, from what I understand. or not, not as much as we would like to do anyway. MSSPs, I mentioned, we're growing with MSSPs everywhere we go. We've been seeing it being used by small MDRs and up to the top tier MSSP, which we have about a quarter of the Gartner top tier list. I think they suffered the challenge the most, right? They could have 50 customers, all with different technology stacks, and have expectations to monitor, update, meet SLAs, sometimes enforce, remediate, all that, and give you good reports. And that's a challenging job. And so we've been working with many of these to really streamline their base offering to create additional offerings, which we, of course, is built in almost for enterprise when you bring it into your SOC, and have tremendous success in that area. And of course, that fuses with our kind of close work with our banks that really helped us understand some of the challenges that we have. One is what happens after you kind of go beyond SOC, right? There's an escalated tier 2, tier 3. Now it needs to go into management and maybe marketing and HR and whatnot. And how do you go about that? And so we've developed a separate model, which we'll see now as well. It integrates with Simplify, and it was exactly developed to help you escalate cases internally and manage those crises in a smarter way, kind of more collaboration, getting all information in one location, and basically decide and make decisions upon that more accurately. And hopefully we'll see that as well in the demo. So Yoni, if you're ready, if you want to take over my screen, let me know if you have control. And I think we have a good time for a good demo. Cool. Try to share, see if that works. Awesome. We can see. I'm going to go on mute so I don't interfere. All right. But I think you know my flow, so go ahead.
All right. All right, guys. So thanks, Guy, for the presentation and introduction. I would start with kind of basically what we base on is ingesting alerts from multiple kind of sources, and sources that can be sending alerts to Simplify is actually very flexible, because it can be your SIM solution, it can be a mail server or a mailbox or phishing mailbox that we ingest phishing emails from. It can be basically anything, and we develop integrations over time. We release kind of a weekly release with new updates, new new tools that we can integrate with. So the list of those sources is actually not limited at all, as long as it has an API. But what's interesting is what happens once an alert comes into Simplify. And one of the unique things that we do is that every alert that comes in goes through normalization. It means that we normalize the data so that the alert in Simplify will look exactly the same no matter where it came from. So the purpose of this is that if I have a malware alert coming directly from my EDR, for example, I'm using Carbon Black. So I'm ingesting an alert from Carbon Black, and then I have another alert, which is also a malware alert coming from my SIM solution, which is QRadar, and another one that is coming from Splunk. And all those malware alerts will look exactly the same in Simplify because they went through normalization. And they're being translated into the Simplify language, which is very intuitive, very visual, very easy to understand. And we will show that in a second. But those normalized alerts turns into cases. And those are the cases that you see on the left side of the screen. And if I click on one of those cases, it takes me to my case overview, where I can see. And the purpose of this view is to answer 3 important questions: what happened, when it happened, and who is involved in this incident. So the what, this would be my, I can see that a virus was found. So it's a malware alert on one of my endpoints. When I have a timeline to kind of specify the time. And if I have more than one alert, obviously I'll be able to identify different patterns. And the who, those are the entities that are extracted from the raw data of the case. And this is part of the data normalization that we actually perform, right? So the whole approach of Simplify is to focus the analyst on what's important. And it's clear that every alert coming from a source will have tens, if not hundreds of fields, right? An ArcSight alert can have hundreds fields, or same as any other SIEM or Splunk, right? But Simplify, it knows but the type of the alert to extract the important artifacts and focus the analyst on what exactly he needs to know for his investigation kind of procedure, right? So in this specific case, if it's a malware alert, we're interested to see what is the hash, what's the endpoint, the host, the IP, the process, the location of the file, right? Those are the things that are interesting. Now, of course, this can be fully customizable, right? We can modify that, but as out-of-the-box solution, we provide you those mappings and those normalization automatically. So an alert comes in, we map it, we extract the important information, and we are ready to investigate, all right? Now, every item here, every entity here is actually also, it's also an object, because if I take, for example, one of those entities and I click on it, it takes me to the Entity Explorer, where I can see historical information about the entity, all the different enrichments that are part of this entity. For example, if it's a hash that was enriched by VirusTotal, I will have all my reports in one place, which is here, and I can review them kind of briefly. Now, back to our case, I want to show you one of our unique differentiators. And it's something that a guy had mentioned before, and this is our contextual analysis engine, or the second correlation or grouping. There are many names to that, but this happens, first of all, thanks to our normalization, right? Because then we break down the alert into those important artifacts, which are the entities. And then based on those entities and the timeframes, we can correlate them together and put them under the same case, right? And the result of this correlation is actually what we see here. So I have this case, which is a suspicious phishing email, and I can see that I have alerts coming from two different sources. One is my phishing mailbox, and the other one is from a data exfiltration alert coming from a DLP product, right? So the correlation actually happens across two different sources, which is, again, it's a unique capability only to Simplify. And to make things even more simpler, we also provide you a visualization of the case. So in order to investigate, you can either run your investigation from here, and we will touch it in a second, but I can also click the Explore button, which immediately take me to this amazing visualized graph, right? Where the whole story of the threat comes into a picture. And it means that our approach is not an alert-oriented approach, because in any other SOAR tool, this case, which actually has 4 different alerts, will be investigated by 4 different analysts. And this is super important, because 4 different analysts that are investigating the same threat wouldn't make the right decisions. The decision-making process will be completely different. Rather than in Simplify, you are focused on a threat. Those alerts are grouped under the same case, are being investigated by one single analyst that understands the context, and his decision-making process will be much better rather than any other SOAR tool. And we can see that the story that is told here, and we have a nice legend here that helps us to understand what does every icon here means. The story is that I have an external user sending 3 phishing emails to my internal users. The content of these emails is as follows. I have a URL, I have a hash. Well, obviously it's the same email, so it's even a bigger reason for them to be correlated. And then Frank, by clicking on one of the URLs or downloading the hash, he caused a data exfiltration alert, right? In addition, I'm also able to investigate. I can click on any of those. I can click on any of those entities and review the collected information from the different threat intelligence sources like Insight and IBM X-Force. Same I can do with the hash, right? And if I want to click on one of the users, so I already have his Active Directory information in hand that is presented as part of this graph. Now back to my case overview. One of my favorite things as that Simplify provides me is insights. And insights are actually important pieces of information that, again, focuses the analyst on what he needs to know in order to make the right decision. And it's being collected using the automation. And what stands behind the automation is that every alert here gets one or more playbooks that are first enriching the case, right? Collecting the information from all the different sources, right? From Active Directory and from VirusTotal and from my EDR, and it queries the SIM, brings additional information, and eventually gives me a quite solid picture of what I need to know in order to make the best decision that I can as fast as I can, right? And what we see here is actually insight that tells me the story of the case, right? Or the kind of the result of the investigation. So I have my X-Force information presented saying, all right, so this was scanned in X-Force and the result said that it was marked as suspicious. And I can see it was already colored in red because Simplify is very visual. So once I see something in red means something suspicious happened. And I have Active Directory information that tells the story of Vicky, right? That it's the involved user, she's a sales engineer. And of course, this can be easily customized because I can also add here her phone number on when was the last time she logged in and so on, right? I have MITRE ATT&CK information already prepared for my investigation. I don't need to go to MITRE ATT&CK website. I bring the information to my case, right? And of course, I can have here, I also have, I think, recorded future, right? And I can add many more as long as, right, I've have the interrogation configured and the credentials are in place. Now, back to my automation. So we can see that a playbook is actually something that is being kind of pre-processed before I even approach the case, right? So the case is being ingested, the data is being normalized. Once the alert is ingested, there is a playbook that is attached to the alert and starting to do the work for me, right? Collecting the information, preparing the data for the investigation, making decisions. You can see that we will talk about the playbook in a second, but you can see here that this is a decision-making block. And actually the decision was automatically made based on the fact that something suspicious was found, right? And what this block says is, if VirusTotal scan returns as risky, go here. And if it's not, you can say that the case is a false positive and you can maybe close the alert. But obviously in our case, it is a risky hash. So we choose to go to this path where at the end of it, the analyst itself, the tier 1 analyst, can make his own decision. And the decision can be whether he wants to remediate or not. If he chooses not, the case will be escalated to tier 3, and the tier 3 analyst will continue the investigation and kind of remediation. If the analyst, the tier 1 analyst, chooses yes, so he has a predefined process that he needs to follow in order to remediate the threat. And there are several steps like blocking the URL, then blocking the hash, then forcing a password update. And the important thing is that it's up to us to define the exact amount of automation that will be used during this remediation. It means that either every action will be approved by the analyst. It can be also that once I click yes on remediation, it will be automatically completed, all the action at once, or I can be as accurate as every action kind of decide per action. One action will be automated, one will be manually performed, and so on. Now, another thing that I want to show you is, as part of the investigation process in this, it's also valid for here and for the case view, but I can click on any of those entities. For example, I'm clicking a user, and let's say I'm a tier 3 analyst and I have the permissions, I can perform a manual action, right? So I click the user. I know that I want to use the Active Directory integration, right? And for example, I can either disable the user account because I know that this is the account that was compromised, or I can choose and force a password update, right? With one click of a button. Or I can go to my URL and choose, again, a manual action. Let's go to my block URL action. So I have different integration that supports it. I have the Cisco Firepower and I have the Panorama. So let's choose the Firepower, specify the group name and click execute. And I'm done, right? And this is valid to any integration because any integration can be also performed manually. I don't have to rely only on the automation and only on the playbooks. If I want to run a manual investigation or a manual remediation and I have the right permissions, I'm able to do so from here and also from the cases themselves because I have the same old button in here as well. Now going forward to the playbooks, and let's see how our playbooks looks like, right? So first of all, I would not go and kind of build the full playbook together, but what I do want to show you is how our playbooks looks like, right? So this is kind of a relatively short playbook with not much to show, but I will show you a bigger one in a second. But what we've added lately is actually, again, one of our unique capabilities. And this capability is regarding sharing the statistical information of this playbook. So it means that after I'm building a playbook, I want to know that something about his performance. So it's not enough to build a playbook. I want to also be sure that this playbook is actually was well built, and his performance or closing tickets or maybe failures that he's experiencing or how many alerts he's closing, right? Everything will be available in this playbook monitoring dashboard, right? So it's not only about building playbooks, it's also about measuring their performance, which is not less important here. In the way we build playbooks is actually drag and drop, right? So you don't need to write a single line of code, although if you want, you can, but it's not required at all, because the way you build your playbook is actually choosing the relevant action and dragging it into the playbook itself. And that's it, right? So all the relevant actions are available, or the ones that are configured are available in this menu, and you just drag it into the playbook designer. So for example, if I would like to send an email, an automated email, right? So I will go to my Exchange integration, choose send email, right? Double click the action, and here will I kind of fill in the relevant details, like the subject of the email, who is going to be sent to, right? And of course, the mail content itself. And another kind of smart thing that we can use is actually placeholders, because I can use placeholders to use any information from the case to be sent using this email. And of course, it's not only limited to emails, because the placeholders are kind of relevant for everything. But if I want to share, if I've scanned a hash and I would like to access the hash a result, right? So what I can do is, let's see if I have something here, right? So I have virus total, for example, scan date, or I can use any virus total field to be used as a placeholder. And of course, I can share there the score that came back from virus total, or it can be Xforce or any other tool, right? So this is the way how I pass parameters from one playbook to another, or just use the case data as a placeholder to send emails or to I don't know, scan hashes and or query an endpoint, I can use those playdoors, but I don't need to write this in any code or anything else, just as easy as editing the playbook. We also have a quite advanced IDE. It means that we expose all the code through our IDE. You're able to edit it. Of course, we won't allow you to edit the source code, but you can easily duplicate this action and then add your own code or modify it and run your tests from this place. You don't need to take it anywhere else because you can just test it and also see the debug output in here. Very simple. And let's go forward. The next thing that I want to show you is actually the dashboards. And we in Simplify believe that what is not measured is not managed. So we are measuring everything we can, and basically it's relatively simple to modify those dashboards because everything is customizable. You can move it from place to place, right? And you can filter the data that is shown. So for example, if it's the top reporting products, you can easily modify what you see here. For example, I want to limit it only to critical alerts, and then it's easily filtered. And you can basically present every element here. And another thing that we have is the homepage, which is the homepage for every analyst, where he keeps his open cases, where he keeps the different tasks or personal notes or announcement, team announcement that's going from kind of the team members. So everything is kept in one place. And last but not least, something that I want to show you is our command center. And the command center is a unique capability, which is actually helps us to handle incidents that are bigger than our SOC. And it means that if I have incidents that cost my company millions of dollars a day, I cannot handle it as an incident in the SOC because it needs to involve additional stakeholders or participants. And that's why we've created a crisis management module, right? So it either can be a case that is being kind of moved from the SOC to the command center, or I can just go and create my own command center to a relevant for the relevant event. And once it's created and kind of I fill in the relevant information regarding the incident description, and for example, the COVID-19 can be also an incident in command center, because obviously it's a massive event that needs to be handled properly. And not only with the SOC analysts and not only with the marketing team, but in collaboration with everyone, right? So what it means that starting from the kind of dashboard that describes the incident, the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to manage the collaborators. And then, and here is where the important part begins, where I start to invite participants. And it can be someone from the marketing department, and someone from human resource, and someone from the legal department, and the CEO, right? Everybody can be invited. And once they are, we will start to collaborate using the workstation. Means that all the attachment and the CEO assessment and the meeting summaries and tasks and evidences, everything will be kept in one place. And for example, if I have a CEO assessment in, I don't know, 5 days from now, right? So let's pick a date. I'll pick something far, right? Like this, bam. So everybody knows that I have an important event coming up in 106 days. It's quite long, but everybody will prepare themselves to that date, and they will know that they will do their homework, right? So everyone is aligned to a specific date. Now, when you managing a crisis, this is indeed one of the most important elements. But of course, again, if I want to provide visibility, and visibility is the key word here, because if, let's say, the CEO gives me a call and says, hi, I need you to help me catch up on the incident or whatever. And if up until today, I would send him an email thread or add him to a WhatsApp group, today I will invite him to the command center where he can easily filter whatever information he needs in order to get the information he wants, right? And not going and kind of searching through the email threads or searching the WhatsApp group, which is obviously not the right way to do it. I hope it makes sense. What else? Guy, want to add something?
I think let's go to the dashboards real quickly, and we'll give some time for Q&A. But we talked quite a lot about our patents and kind of grouping and the ability to investigate different things and kind of unification. This brings a lot of value for the analyst, of course, that they see kind of more in clarity and quicker. But it really drills down also to a dramatic reduction in the actual cases the team needs to handle naturally, right? We typically see, if you compare to amount of offenses in key rate or kind of cases of correlations and in other SIMs, like ArcSight or whatnot, this is typically 80% case reduction, because we often see a lot of overlap. The more security solutions you have in place, the more value you gain from that grouping, because you can see information from logins, out of our login. Think someone trying to log in late at night, trying to hack into Swift, maybe ingest a malware to record keystrokes and send it over to a CNC machine, right? These would be different alerts, different locations, probably investigated by different levels of skill sets of analysts, and not knowing that they come together. And so much of that would be closed. That's actually, thanks, Yoni, that's actually a great example, right? You have an out of hour working alert, an IRC connection and virus found, kicked out around the same time. And yeah, maybe antivirus would find it, right? And maybe would quarantine it, yes or no, we don't know. But the IRC connection is already established potentially. And now there's a link that's super hard to know separately. And just by that, that's like a third of the cases. Often we see like fifth, right? Like 6 or 7, like 3 to 7 different alerts in the same story of a threat, just automatically grouped together, helping you to level that kind of skill gap, like the knowledge skill gap in cyber, where even your tier 1 analyst would be able to see immediately that this is more interesting, more important than another just random failed login event that didn't have anything else with, right? So it helps you focus from minute 1 with the color coding, alerts, whatnot, and then down to the drill level to really be able to go down to tier 3 level, enforce, remediate everything from simplify, and escalate it to management through the command center to really be able to close the loop correctly and not drop the ball during, right? To help make sure that across the board in the organization, when something happens, and something always happens, right? That you're equipped and that you're structured. And oftentimes people use this on cyber drills to make sure that they know how to use it, even though it's super easy, especially the command center designed for non-cyber people, non-technical people, to be able to pick up and use it right away, right? And so that's totally our focus, to simplify how you work, structure it, streamline it, to be able to give you that clarity of how you're doing, and offer those kind of through our help and dashboards and reports, offer that kind of path for improvements, short-term, long-term, and ongoingly, really, through one single pane of glass, which a term that I hate, but really, applies. We want to be able to log into one window and understand everything. And so for this, especially with that grouping capabilities that is fused so well with our cyber know-how and kind of automation, kind of machine learning, different things like that into one location, just gives you kind of the best of all breed, because you choose your security solution still, right?
So Guy, I just want to butt in here quickly so that I would urge you to summarize so we can take questions and
Sure.
answer sessions and see how we can wrap up the webinar. Thanks.
Sure thing. We also invite you all to know that we have demos in the websites, and definitely feel free to shoot questions through CyberDome and whatnot. We're here to help, but I'm virtually done. So we could talk about it for hours and go deep and deep, but I think we were able to squeeze in the time enough to understand the scope or in our approach. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Guy. That was insightfully rich. So we have a couple of questions. First, one of the attendees would like to know how well does the case management feature manage and measure SOC activities?
So I think everything that happens, everything that we get is automatically logged into case wall, and of course can be exported to other case management solution. So our notion is this becomes the case management for the SOC, but oftentimes you want to integrate with ServiceNow or Remedy or Jira or whatnot that's already present for the organizational level. And we don't want them to log into Simplify, right? So in these cases, we would just automate that integration, and when needed, open its case with Jira or whatever is in place for that major scope. But this is really geared and focused for the cyber kind of focused case management, which is a little bit different sometimes. It's like not someone call that opens up and say, hey, I have problems with my machine, right? This is a threat-oriented case and should be investigated that way. Oftentimes, of course, it links to cases that are in call center or whatnot.
Thank you for that. And the next is, how does your SOAR help to build and improve your workflow?
Okay, I think it actually maybe resonates to the half of the questions that I missed before in a way. So I think maybe only go into the dashboards, and maybe if you have a Tableau report in the background open, maybe we'll show that as well. The reason we built really case management is to be able to measure SOC activities, right? So to be able to understand everything that goes on. Thanks, Yoni, and maybe you can actually do it better than I do. But the notion is we encapsulate everything within SIM, and then with Tableau, we take it even deeper and help structure with some of these pre-built reports that are actually interactive with Tableau. So you can click, you can drill down, often there's maps, there's kind of different divisions, and it's able to identify your bottlenecks. And in our playbook dashboards as well, which Yoni showed before, within each workflow specifically, there is both the playbooks dashboards that give you an overview and drill down for each one of the playbooks that you have activated. How many are closed? How many get stuck? Where do they get stuck and whatnot? And then you can drill down even. So that's kind of management level almost for performance of these workflows and activities. But then for each one of these playbooks, you can drill down even deeper in its playbook to see the specifics of that playbook execution. And actually, when you build it, there's a debugger mode, so you don't even need to get a case into that. You can kind of simulate a case and then see how it runs, and not need to wait for someone to log in late at night or whatnot, right? So everything is really tailored for, firstly, the tier one that has a structured flow, and then almost before that, the team that defines what flows we should follow, and then we help define those in playbooks and help you and kind of understand how to take it from there, both with predefined use cases that Yoni was about to show before, and then also with the drill down of the dashboards and the dashboards of each report to be able to understand where you need to improve, right? Where it's not optimized, if you will.
Thank you, Guy. So up to the next one, how well can this SOAR platform address the challenges of SLA when it comes to responding to incident?
You know what? I think this is key for financials, key for MSSPs because of that. And we've been struggling with that question for a while now, kind of ongoingly having different improvements. Of course, the easiest thing is that we can define SLAs, and then we can highlight those that are shorter SLAs, right? Some cases have quick SLAs, other cases kind of have shorter SLAs. Normally, when there is a case SLA, like where Yoni is trying to point there, normally we would have an hourglass. There's like an icon for those that have an SLA, and that color changes over time. So as you have, let's say, like a watermark, 30 minutes left for that case, it's get elevated, you can get notification for it, different things like that, right? Just to make sure that A, you meet your SLAs, and then B, because we have that information, we have both simplified reports and Tableau reports that help you break down your SLA attainment. Honestly, this was built mostly for and because our MSSPs required it, right? But same need, right? You want to make sure that your SLAs are there. And so this is exactly our focus, to help you capture that information ongoingly. And then when it needs to happen, it normally just the automated dashboards, reports, or Tableau that's live, it's just ready for you to look at.
Thank you for that, Guy. And we have two more questions. What is the technologies you use to achieve orchestration? What technologies?
Awesome question, actually. This is an awesome question. So there's the core that we've built, but really our mentality is to play nicely with your technology, right? And so we don't expect you to replace your firewalls, your SIM, your EDR, your threat intelligence feeds, whatever you use, we assume you chose correctly. And also we assume you might change in the future, right? Because that's the way things go. And so our mentality is to be that kind of focal point in the middle that plays nicely with whatever technology is in. So with that said, the detection solutions are your detection solutions. The in triage solutions would be yours. Maybe many would be freeware, whatnot, but would be your choice anyway. So would be the remediation and the enforcement. But at the core, we've built our playbook designer, and of course, we've built roughly 200 and whatnot, third-party integrations and connectors, all of them written in Python. All of them are available for you. As you probably saw in the playbook designer, it's all drag and drop. You see little blocks that you drag into the playbook and create a decision-making tree. In the IDE, maybe only click on the IDE real quickly, we actually bring you, as you would deploy another integration for Active Directory, well, Curator, you name it, as you install it from our marketplace, which is part of our offering, our subscription offering, you get that code. So now the engineers, if they want to see how Carbon Black is working, and maybe they want to tweak it, they can make a copy of our Carbon Black defense, blah, whatever integration and create your own customized one if you choose to. We have APIs, SDKs, documentation. Those are typically done for like hardcore. We've simplified all of that with drag and drop blocks, right? Kind of visualizations of everything. And so at our core, there's all of our technologies for kind of automation, jobs, in kind of the fusing of the alerts and the grouping, which is our patent graph-based analytics, a bunch of different things. And then it plays with everything else in a way. And then there's Tableau for reporting, which isn't our own. We just identified that to be the best TI tool in the market, and said if it works for Salesforce, it should work for us. And we find that it's a good decision we've made.
Okay, and to the last question. How is Simplify different from McAfee SIM? What makes it different and unique?
We're actually not similar in a way. So McAfee is actually a very strong alliance partner of ours. McAfee SIM, as other SIMs, would essentially be our database, right? When an organization places a SIM, and actually that comes into the first question in the session, if you have a SIM, if you're in the financials, you need it for regulation, you need to keep data for 7 years, you need to keep a lot of junk data that I don't care about in my SOC investigation, right? When I investigate, I need to look at kind of higher level information and then drill deep from there. I don't care about every failed login event that happened in the last 6 years. I don't mind, right? And so, or SOC doesn't mind when I say I. Now, regulation does care. And so if you need a SIM, you can have McAfee, awesome. You can have Curator, McAfee, Curator, McAfee, ArcSight, Splunk, ELK, whatever works as a database for you with some level of rule correlation creation. We take that as a database and then we work from there. And McAfee, definitely kind of a quarter of our customers, I would say, have McAfee SIM. And we would basically integrate with that and let that do the first level correlation. We do the second layer and pick up from there.
Thank you very much, Guy. That has been very insightful. And
yeah, it took a little bit longer, but
that's fine. And it was quite rich and insightful. And also, I would like to remind everyone that we're also willing to assist with a PUV license for organizations that are willing to try this solution. Thank you once again. Feel free to contact us on the numbers and emails on the screen, as we will be delighted to further clarify you on your inquiry. It's been an amazing evening with you all. And here is saying goodbye and enjoy the rest of your day. From all of us from CyberDome, thank you very much for being with us. Thank you.
thanks for having me as well. Goodbye. Have a good evening.